This is Jamie Romero with Learn by the Byte. Welcome to Android Programming 3. Hello, this is Jamie Romero with Learn by the Byte, and I'm going to be your instructor for this course. The course we're looking at is Android Programming 3, and the purpose of this video is to give you an overview of what's in this course. Perhaps you've joined our course as a student that's already taken our Android 1 and Android 2 courses. If you have, then welcome back. We're just going to continue on with our curriculum. Maybe you're new to our curriculum. You're jumping in right into Android 3. That's okay if you've already done some other studying of Android, maybe worked on some apps on your own, but you want to learn about the topics that are in this course. It's perfectly fine to enter directly into this course as well. So what's this course all about? What are you going to learn in this course? Well, I guess the first thing to do would be to take you through the table of contents, if you will. What are the major sections we have here? Section 1 is called Course Introduction, and in that section, we're mostly talking about just getting your system ready to go. So, I mean, even this video is part of the course introduction. So, for example, we'll show you where to download the student files. We have these files, this zip file with all these projects that supplement this course. Some of these projects I'll be using to do demos, but there's others that are going to be starter code or solutions for exercises. That's one unique thing about the videos that come from us, is that we're not just all about talking to you and having you just sit back and watch a lecture or listen to a lecture. We're more about having you interact and use your mouse, use your keyboard, do exercises, participate in the demos. And so if you really want to get the most out of this course, make it a hands-on course. All right, what else is in this course introduction? We're going to give you some videos on computer setup. And so we need to have you get your machine ready to go. If you already came from Android 1 or 2, then these two computer setup videos, part 1 and part 2, you've already done those. If you're brand new, though, if you're just entering directly into Android 3, you're going to want to do all 3 of the computer setup videos. If you did come from Android 1 and 2, you'll still need to do part 3. There's some new stuff, just a little something that's new for Android 3. We also are going to show you how to get your files, the files that we downloaded up here. We're going to show you how to load them into Eclipse. Okay, so now let's talk about the real content, the stuff you're really going to learn, not just setting up your system. We've got section number 2 here, intents and broadcast receivers. We'll start with the concept of an intent. So, as you probably already know, you can create activities in Android, and an activity is basically a screen. Well, if we want one activity to invoke another activity, we can use an intent to do that. We're going to see that we can use explicit intents. That means call another activity by name, for example. Or there's going to be implicit intents, or you're going to say we intend to run another activity, and it should be this kind of thing. It should perform this kind of action. Maybe you want to display an image, so the action would be like view, and the data type that you want to view might be a MIME type of image/star. And so we'll talk about both explicitly and implicitly launching additional activities from perhaps your main activity that you're starting with. We'll see that you can pass data to activities using intents, and you can get results back from activities as well. So lots of content. There's multiple different videos, and each video we try to keep at about a 10-minute max. Once in a while we'll span a little bit past that, but each video is somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes usually. And so lots of content just on intents themselves. We'll also have exercises. Whoops, I didn't mean to click that. Let me scroll here. In addition to just talking about what intents are and doing some demos, we also have labs. We have exercises. So you're going to have several opportunities. We actually have lab 1, 2, 3, 4 exercises to practice using intents. This intents video is going to describe the exercises, and then we have review exercises as well, review videos, where I work through each of the individual labs, and I'll stumble. I'm not going to be perfect at it, so I might run into a few little problems and Normally people find that beneficial because they run into them as well. But I just live code. I build the solution to the exercises in these reviews. We're also covering in this chapter the concept of broadcast receivers. In Android, we have four major kinds of components. We have activities, we have broadcast receivers. That's what this second topic is here in this section. We have services, which will be section 3, and there's also content providers. I think content providers are going to make their way into Android Programming 4, I believe is where we're going to see those. At least I think. Not 4 or 5. In a later set of videos, we're expecting to talk about content providers. Anyhow, broadcast receivers. You can have code that listens for events, that's an observer, that's looking for notifications of events that occur. So for example, and one of the things we'll do in our demos, I think it's in the exercises actually, is we'll be listening for battery events, like if the battery is low, for example. You can be notified of that. Maybe your activity will behave differently under low battery circumstances. Perhaps you can do something in your activity to conserve battery. Maybe you'll stop some services or something like that. So we'll see how to build a broadcast receiver, and we'll see that we can register it either programmatically or we can register it via the manifest, something actually putting entries into the XML manifest file. We'll also see how to send out our own intents, send out our own events. And again, there's some exercises that allow you to determine if you really got it, right? To practice what you've been watching. Okay, so that's a pretty good size exercise, or pretty good size chapter, I should say, when it comes to intents and broadcast receivers. The next one we have, section 3, it's on services. Services, these are background tasks without a user interface that you want to run. So like playing audio, that would be good to do in a service. Or in our demos, we'll be doing a download. And so we'll talk about what a service is. We'll talk about the fact that you can very simply create a service by extending a class called intent service. But there's some defaults in intent service that might not be adequate for you. So if you want a little more control, you can create what's called a started service by extending the service class itself. You'll be spawning threads to do the work, all that kind of stuff. Not only do we need to know how to start services, we also need to know how to stop them as well. In addition to having started services, we're also going to talk about something called a bound service. With bound services, you can have an ongoing conversation between, maybe it's an activity and the service that it's communicating with. And so it can be several method calls, kind of like RPC, remote procedure calls between an activity and the service it's talking to. I say remote, there's actually two ways to work with services. You can work with services that are local, or you can work with services that are remote. We'll see both ways. Again, we have exercises, so there's going to be labs discussion, and 1, 2, 3 different labs that we'll have you work on. And when I did the recording of these labs, it took me, looks like close to 40 minutes to work through all 3 of them. And so, as usual, great stuff. Getting hands on the keyboard is essential to really learning these topics. And then the last section, it's actually a little bit shorter, a little bit lighter. It's on the topic of notifications. In Android, there's multiple ways to notify a user of something that's happened. You can use Toast, you can use dialogues. Here we're going to talk about the concept of a notification. This is where you put a little icon and maybe some ticker text up in the notification bar. With these notifications, we'll see how to build them, how to configure them. We can even associate an intent with a notification. So if a notification is selected, maybe it launches an activity or a service or even a broadcast receiver. It sends out an event to a receiver. So we'll see how to create an intent, or create a notification, display it, update it. We'll even talk about how you can have a notification be supplemented with audio and even vibration. Again, exercises, labs, and lab reviews as well. One thing I should mention, just for completeness, I mentioned as I started this discussion that we use intents to have one activity call another. Intents are used for more than that. We can also use an intent to notify a broadcast receiver to say, wake up any broadcast receivers and send them a message. We can use an intent to start up a service as well. So they're multifaceted, and that's why we're talking about them here among broadcast receivers and services. Okay, folks, I'm already talking too much. Let me go ahead and let you go here. This is Android Programming 3. I am Jamie Romero, and I certainly hope you enjoy our course.